Let's go ahead and get this started. I'm just planning to pick up where my notes left off. But in between each session, somebody, at least one person, has every time come to me and said, "Oh, could you also talk about this? Could you also talk about that? Whatever." So each time I'm getting more suggestions and more ideas from you guys, which then means I work it into the session, and then that brings up more, and it's a great feedback loop. So definitely keep those suggestions coming. Feel free to ping me in the pit with anything that crosses your mind that you'd like to know how to do, or that you've tried to do and can't get to work, or that you have done and does work and you find super useful and I haven't talked about. Whatever, any of that kind of stuff. Just send it my way, and we will discuss it. So, all right. I have three items on my list here that actually interrupt resuming my list from last time. But I think it makes more sense to talk about them before we dive into the next kind of big section, which is on dome stuff. So these are just some general Sierra things that everybody may or may not realize you can change, or may or may not realize their impact. The first is mouse wheel. Not everybody has a mouse wheel, I realize, depending on the kind of machine you've got. But if you have a mouse wheels are really handy, and they're really handy for, scrolling up and scrolling down. But Sierra Chart has a bunch of different ways the mouse wheel can behave, and the defaults may or may not be what you want. So if you go into global settings, general settings, and you go into the GUI tab, believe it or not, these are considered tabs, even though they don't look anything like tabs, and it's a completely non-standard interface, but whatever, they're tabs. If you go in here, you'll notice scroll wheel, and it says list. This is another just a silliness about these ugly Sierra dialogues. If it says list, it means this here is a drop down list. Right. That's how you know that that's a list. Some of them will say, do any of these? No, none of these do. Sometimes you'll see items that say button on them. If it says button, then literally it's a button. You click it, it will do something. It's just one of the quirks of these funky windows. But anyway, here's all the different possible ways the scroll wheel can behave. And I think this is the default, actually, because I believe these settings here are on. I think they're on defaults. I can't remember if I changed a few of these things to be my preferred way or not. I think these are at defaults. But anyway, right now it is set to scroll wheel scrolls vertical scale, right? And that's up and down, right? So that seems logical. With shift, it changes the spacing. Well, what that means is that if I scroll the mouse wheel up or down, I move up or down, right? But if I hold the shift key down and scroll, we effectively zoom in and out. And forgive the jitteriness. I've got, I think the detent on my scroll wheel, my mouse wheel is wearing out. And so it jitters. I don't get a real smooth scroll anymore. It's really obnoxious. So you can see it's kind of jumping back and forth. That's my end. That's my mouse, or my trackball, actually. But anyway, if I hold down shift, I can zoom in and out. And this is just a really handy thing. I don't have to go to the keyboard to zoom in or out. I have to go down here and drag the stupid time scale, or control drag this. I have this. I'll talk about it in a second. I don't want to get ahead. So that's how I have it set. Normally, I like it to be like that. I want to scroll, just plain scroll wheel, goes up and down. And if I hold down shift, it essentially zooms in and out, changing the value scale, the time scale. But if you don't like that behavior, there's a bunch of different things here you can do. So I suggest you explore these, play with them. You can have it scroll the chart when you do the mouse wheel. If I apply that, you'll watch now. If I just scroll the mouse wheel, we move back and forward in the chart. And that might be more useful to you than moving up and down, depending on what you're doing and how you trade. And, this is per chart, right? So, or I'm sorry, this is not per chart. What am I saying? I'm skipping ahead in my mind to another feature that I'm going to talk about in a second. So yeah, these are global. These are not per chart. That would be really cool if they were per chart, because some charts you might want it to behave one way and other charts another way. That would be really nifty. But anyway, so yeah, explore those. There's a bunch of different options, and see which one you like. But again, I normally just like it to be on that, so we'll leave it there. And there's a bunch of other settings here, and I always encourage everybody, just explore them all and check out all the different options in every single tab. Just go through and say, what's this do? What's this do? What's this do? What's this do? And explore them all. That's the best way to learn. But for now, that's scroll wheel. Next thing, this is a big time saver if, like myself, probably like many of us, if you have a specific workspace, a specific chart book that, or set of chart books that every time you come to your platform, you're always going to open them. You always want these to, you just want them to default to this. This is my workspace. I want everything up and running. You can even go the extra mile. I have a task schedule on my machine that literally boots my machine every morning at 4:30 a.m. and launches Sierra Chart, and all the applications that I need, launches Zulip, launches, all the stuff that I'm going to want to have. So when I come walking into my office in the morning, my machine is completely ready to go. Rhythmic is running, like everything is up and running. The only thing I have to do, Rhythmic doesn't also then log in and open a settings. So I have to do that manually, but everything else is automatic. And here's how you can save yourself some headache with that if you want to, is you can, again, go into global settings, general settings, and under the general tab, you can choose open files on startup. If you set that to yes, then you can, here's an example. See how that says button right there? That means this right here is a button. If I click it, I can select files to open on startup. So if I click it, it's over here and you can't even read it, right? It's so collapsed. There you go. Don't ask me why it does that. These dialog windows are just horrible, but whatever. And by default, it's set to example chart book. And that's a Sierra Chart included example chart book with a gazillion TA nonsense things on it. So I definitely don't want that. I'll remove. And then I would just click add and pick whatever chart book I want. So if I wanted it to fire up every time I launch Sierra with this chart book, I could select it. And you can select multiple. You can have a whole list of chart books. I could go, I could add this and I could add that. And I could add 12 different chart books. And you could have them all open in here just automatically when you launch Sierra Chart, if that's something that you want to do. It's really handy. Again, if you just want your platform up and running and ready to rock, then as soon as you launch it, this is a great time saver. But there is one gotcha with this, which is that if, again, like myself, if you're constantly tweaking your chart book and you save iterations of it, like I'm always saving my newest version of my chart book with the date that I saved it, right, with whatever today's date is. And that way I can always go back. I can always roll back to a previous one if I need to for any reason. And, sometimes I do because I realize, oops, I totally broke something. Didn't mean to do that. So I'll roll back. But what that means is that this will not change automatically. So if I have this set to open, a chart book from 3 weeks ago, and I make a change today and I hit save, this will not know that I hit save. So the next time I launch Sierra, it's going to open the old one again. So you got to remember to come in here when you've changed your chart book, remove it, and then add the new one back again. So that's the one gotcha with this. Every once in a while, I have forgotten to do this. And then for days or weeks, sometimes I've been running an old chart book that had the tweak I had made to it is so subtle or so small with some little tweaky thing that I didn't notice it. And so I'm trading on the wrong chart book for a while. And then I might have made other changes to that version. And I'm like, oh, crap. Now my versions are all out of sync and it's a mess. So, pay attention to this. Make sure that if you use this feature and you make a change to your chart book, come in here and make sure that it is opening the correct version of the chart book when you launch Sierra. All right. Now, the last sort of global, semi-quasi-global thing. This one is both global and per chart. And I'll explain the difference and why it's important. And that is time zones. And time zones get discussed from time to time. It comes up in TRG of like, how do you all have your time zones set? And there is definitely no one answer. You ask 100 traders what time zones they use, you'll get, well, you won't get 100 different answers because there aren't that many options, but you'll get at least 2 or 3, 4 different answers. I settled early on Lee's approach because it just seemed logical and it made sense. And that is that my charts, I always want them set to whatever the time zone of the instrument they are trading is. So in this case, ES, right? It's on Chicago time. So it's set to Chicago. And you set that if you go into chart settings. I just hit F5 to get to it, by the way. But of course, it's in the chart menu, chart settings, F5. Oops. Come back. So if you ever forget the shortcut key, there it is, F5. And so I have it here, time zone. It's on the session times tab. Time zone, and it doesn't default this way, right? It defaults to use global, and the global defaults to UTC time, which is probably not terribly useful unless maybe you live in UTC time. So I go in here and I change this to Chicago since that's the instrument I'm trading. Chicago, great. Okay, fine. So this chart is now on Chicago time. So if I see 8:30 here, I know that it's the open in Chicago. But there's another time zone, and that is the global time zone, and it is in time zone settings, oddly enough. And here you go. And right now I have it set to Los Angeles. Again, it doesn't default to Los Angeles. It will default to UTC. Okay, but UTC, not terribly useful. Now, why do I have my global time zone set to Los Angeles, but my chart time zones set to Chicago? There's a reason. And that reason is this. If I have, I don't know if I have any data in here. Let me see if I do. If I go to my trade activity log, let's see if I have any data in here whatsoever. I don't know that I do. No, I don't. All right, let's just spam some orders here. I don't have a dome or anything. I got nothing. Let's turn the dome on. Turn dome on, and let's just. I don't have a trade window. I don't have my. I do have my hotkeys. Yay! Let's just go. Bye. Oh, for freak's sake! Yes, whatever. Oh, yes. I turn off confirmations. I'm so not used to being at default settings for everything. Confirmations. Okay, great. Confirmations are off. So I'm just going to go, let's zoom in and I'll go a bunch of sell orders and I'm just going to spam a bunch of really silly trades here. Looks like I'm actually going to make some money on them, which is ridiculous. I'll just get rid of that. Okay, am I flat yet? No, I'm not flat. I'm short. Oh, I'm short one now. Okay, well, fine. Let's just buy it. Oh, now I'm short two. Let's buy back. All right, great. Now I'm flat. Great, cancel all. Okay. Oh, no, now I'm long. All right, flatten. Whatever. Great. Now I have some trades. That's all I wanted. I just wanted some trades in the activity log. Let's go into the trade activity log. Okay, here we go. We got a bunch of trades. So here's the reason why I have the chart on Chicago and my global time zone on Los Angeles. When I'm trading and I'm looking at the chart, I'm looking at the dome, and I'm thinking about what I want to do. I'm thinking about B to A and IB break and all that kind of thing. I want to be thinking in exchange time. And I've gotten used to doing that. It took me a little while to get used to thinking in central time because I'm on Pacific time in California, but I got there. And I want to think that way when I'm trading. But when I'm looking at my logs, a lot of the time I remember when I took a trade based on my current time, because I'll remember it relative to, oh yeah, that was right before I got up to feed the cats. And that was like, right around 6:45. And what I'm thinking in my local time zone. And by doing this in Los Angeles, I get this in local time. You'll notice these times 9:10, right? Time 9:11. Well, right now it's 9:12. So these are in Los Angeles time. So this is the point, is that the trade activity log is always using whatever the global time zone is set to. So it can be different. So if you like your reports to be in your local familiar time zone, this is a really handy thing to be able to do that. Now, if you don't care, or if you happen to live on the same time zone as the exchange you're on, then yeah, you can set them to global and leave the global on the exchange time or whatever. But this is just a handy thing to know. I didn't realize this for a long time, that the reports, all the reporting is actually in the global time zone. And that goes for the logs, all the various logs and everything as well. Those are in global time zone. And that actually screwed me up one time really bad because I didn't realize this. And I was trying to track something down, like an order issue I had or something. I forget what it was now, but I was trying to track something down by time and I could not find it, or I found the wrong thing. I can't remember. But anyway, it drove me crazy. And I finally realized, I was like, oh my God, wait a minute. This is not matching the chart. What the heck? And that was when the light bulb went off and I realized what was going on, and that it was actually a good thing. It was useful, but you got to realize it's doing that and understand that that's the case. So there you go. Time zones. Okay. So that stuff is now out of the way. Let's start talking dome, because this is something that a few of you actually asked me to get into, different aspects of dome settings and tips and tricks for effectively working with the dome and things like that. So I've got a long list. This might actually consume the rest of the session today, just talking dome. That's if we even get through it all. I don't know. I don't know how fast this is going to go, but we'll start. And if more stuff comes up along the way, again, throw it in the chat by all means. And I will talk to it. So first things first, let's talk about a very critical thing that confused the heck out of me at first. What am I looking for? I'm looking for that. Turn that off. There we go. And that is that Sierra Chart has two different domes, completely different types of dome. And they are very different, and not everybody realizes the difference between them or why it matters. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to shrink this chart down a bit. And so this is just a regular chart, right? 30-minute candle chart. I'm going to go over here to, I never use these, so I always forget where they are. I think they're under the file menu. Yes. Open Trading Dome, right? Oh, actually, sorry. Open Trading Dome lets you pick the instrument you want. I want to just open it for this instrument, right? So I wanted to use Open Trading Dome for chart. There we go. Okay. So this is a trading dome. This is a chart. This can be turned into a chart dome by simply going in here and turning on Trading Chart Dome on. And you saw me using that a minute ago to spam those orders. Let me attach this window so that it's attached window. There we go. Ta-da. All right, let's make it a regular size, and we'll make you a regular size too. There we go, more or less. Okay, so here's the two different kinds of dome. We have a trading dome over here on the left and a chart dome over here on the right. And functionally, they're the same. You can click orders, buy and sell columns, pricing, prices, price scale, all that. Actually, sorry. Let me back up. There's one thing I was going to mention on timescale stuff, and I forgot. Let me get this out of the way real quick first. I might have covered this briefly in one of my other sessions. I can't remember now, but on the off chance that I didn't, because this is really super useful. If you right click in the value scale here, right, the price scale, you've got interactive scale range, interactive scale move, and interactive scale locked. Now, I never use locked. I don't bother because why would I want to lock the scale? But move and range are two really useful states, and they're different, obviously. Move, of course, means if I click and drag this, I move it. Range means if I click and drag it, I scale it. Right. And I see this kills me every time he does it. But I see Lee, when he wants to change this, he goes into here and changes it to move and then moves it and then changes it to range and then scales it and then back to move again and then moves it. And it just kills me because all you have to do is leave this on the one you're going to use most of the time. And for me, that's move. And then if I want to just toggle this temporarily to range, all you got to do is hold down the control key. And now I click and drag and it's range. Let go of the control key and it's move. Hold down control key and it's range. Let go. It toggles to the opposite of whichever one you have it set to. So if by default it's on range, if I hold down the control key, now it's move. And I like it defaulted to move. So that's what I leave checked, move. And then that way, anytime I want to just toggle the scale, I just hold down the control key real quick and then I can super quickly just dial stuff in. And it's a huge headache and time saver. And then, the same thing applies over here. I can click and drag to move, hold down control key to scale. All right, great. That's out of the way. So now let's get back to talking about trade domes versus chart domes. So the difference really between them is what you can put on them. This has no chart, hence the name trade dome versus chart dome. Has a chart, does not have a chart, but you can still trade on it. So those are the two different kinds of domes. And if you open up the studies, the chart studies, it's still called chart studies, even though this isn't a chart, but whatever. You'll notice there's a very small list. These are the only things you can put on a trade dome. That's it. That's all you get. So I can do that. And, oops, come on, value area lines, apply that. There we go. Now I've got a volume profile, default settings. It's ugly as sin, but I don't care. You can do study price overlay. So if you've got another study on a chart somewhere that you want to bring into here, you can do that and it will appear here just like a regular chart. This is functionally a regular chart area, except it has no bars, right? No candles, no time scale, anything like that. And it can only have these studies. These are all you get. So chart dome, of course, is a chart. It's a full-blown chart. You get everything available to you in Sierra. Why would you use one or the other? Well, that is a question I have not figured out a good answer to. As far as I know, as far as I've been able to tell, and also from talking to Lee and asking him what he thinks, there is absolutely no performance difference between one or the other. None. So I see no advantage at all to using a trade dome over a chart dome. I don't see any real disadvantage either, except for the list of available studies. Let's see, Donnie, I think you can add study collections. Yes, I'm sure you can add study collections, but it won't include any studies that are not allowed. Like if I open a study collection on, basic footprint, right? Clear existing studies. Yeah, sure. Go ahead. We don't get. Oh my God. Wait a minute. What? No way. Holy smokes. Oh, that blows my mind. Okay, Donnie, you just blew my mind apart. Oh, that has got to be technically a bug. I don't think that's supposed to work. That's awesome. Oh, I never would have even thought to try that because why would I even think of that? Because now if I open up studies, are they there? They are. Numbers bars is actually there. No way. Oh, wow. I am thoroughly blown away by that. All right. So can I open up my footprint? Let's go JVC footprint. Yes, clear studies. There's my footprint. I'll be damned. Of course, I still see no advantage to it because you can do all this in a chart dome. So it's like, why? But that's really funny. That is so funny to know because now you can't scroll time, right? I can't. Can I go left arrow, right? Oh, left arrow works. Okay. No, it does not. You can't go. Yeah, I can only go to the right. You can't go to the left. So you can't go back in time. I can't see anything further unless I do this. Yep, now I can. So it's clunky as hell. I don't know why you'd ever want to do this. That is hilarious to know that actually works. I would never have imagined that would work. Too funny. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I don't see any functional reason to use a trade dome. If anybody ever finds something that only works in a trade dome or that is better somehow in a trade dome, I'm really curious to hear it, but I've never found anything. So I don't use these at all. All my domes are always chart domes. And you just have more flexibility. There's more stuff you can do with them. And like I said, I don't see any performance difference in them at all. So I don't understand what the point is to these. My thinking is maybe these are legacy, that maybe these are like first Sierra had trade domes. And then eventually later they added chart domes and integrated charts and domes. And this was still there and they needed to keep it for legacy chart books and, stuff that people were using. I don't know. That's often the case with software where they have to keep legacy stuff, whether it makes sense or not. So anyway, I'm just going to kill that. I don't need it. Don't care. But that's the difference. So sometimes you'll see people specify trade dome, chart dome. There is a difference. And somebody might be saying the specific kind of dome they're on for a reason. They might be using, they might think they're more limited than they are. Imagine if somebody is using a trade dome and they, because they don't realize that study collections trick that Donnie just shared with us, and they might be beating their head against the wall, like, why the hell can't I add a blank study, whatever. And they don't realize, use a chart dome and you can add all the studies. They're all there. So anyway, it's worth knowing the difference between those two. Now, let's see. I talked about the value scale. Oh, yes. So now, obviously, if the dome is enabled, right, I can click in here and I can place. I just got ahead of myself. I didn't mean to do that. Let me open up this. I don't have my hotkeys. Let's flatten. Okay. So, you can click orders and, all the usual stuff, right? Whatever. Cancel all those. But what if I want to see, and I don't have full book, right? I don't pay for full book because I don't use it. I don't use the book. So I just have top of book because you have to have something. So that's why I only have these levels. I don't have everything. But let's imagine that you wanted to see the full liquidity. Let's imagine that I had full depth here, but I didn't want to be able to click on it. I didn't want to accidentally click and, oh crap, I just placed an order. I didn't mean to do that, right? Didn't want that to happen. What you can do is you can go up to the trade menu and there's two different things. There's trading chart dome on, which is what I have right now. But there's also this one here that's grayed out. Show market data columns. Well, it's grayed out because it's only available if trading chart dome is off. So I'm going to unselect trading chart dome, right? Go back into the trade menu and now notice show market data columns is enabled. If I turn that back on, I've got columns again, but I can't click them. They're not tradable. So I don't ever have to worry about clicking to place an order. And there have been times when I've wanted to see this, I've wanted this up, but I kept finding I would accidentally click an order when I just wanted to like move the price scale or, I'm going to adjust the window width or something and I accidentally click over here and I'm like, oh crap. And I've screwed myself up many times because of that. And then I realized that you could actually turn on just the market data columns without a dome. So you can see them, but not worry about accidentally trading them. So that's a handy thing to realize is there and the difference between them. And also if you ever accidentally had them enabled and didn't realize it, and you're wondering like, why the hell can't I click on my dome? What's going on? Well, that's probably why. Because one thing you can do right now, I have show market data columns enabled, right? And I believe if memory serves, it's been a long time since I've done this, but I believe if I turn on the trading chart dome right now, right, I can place my orders. There we go. Dome is back enabled. Cancel. And now if I uncheck it, I believe, yep, because see, this is still checked. Even though it's grayed out, it's still checked, which means if I uncheck this now, trading chart dome on, we're right back to market data columns again. So if you accidentally unchecked Trading Dome, but had market data columns enabled, you wouldn't realize necessarily that you've disabled your dome, and you'll be beating your head against the wall wondering, what the hell happened to my dome? Why can't I click the columns? So if that ever happens, check this out. And that's probably what's going on. Okay, I'll uncheck that. Now, one other thing, in fact, let me turn the dome back on. I'm going to need it for the rest of this. Whoops, hello, there we go. I got ahead of myself a second ago and I accidentally did this, and I wanted to demonstrate it now. If you are trading the dome, and if you are at default Sierra chart settings, you would be forgiven for thinking that, doesn't it make sense? If I click up here, I'll place an order up here. If I click down here, I'll place an order down here, right? I can click down here, I can place some buy orders. So if I click up here, I should be able to place some buy orders, right? So I click up here and wait a minute. What the hell? I just got long 3 contract. What is going on? I clicked up here. Why is it enter? What's going on? Well, that is because by default, Sierra chart is set to limit orders if you click above price in the buy column or below price in the sell column. So same thing. I can click sell up here, right? They're limit orders, which is fine. It means they're going to just sit there and wait to get hit, right? But if I click down here, they're also limit orders, but I'm beyond the limit. So it enters immediately. It's effectively a market order. Well, that's no good. What if I want to place orders down here or up here? That's the whole point. For those, you need stop orders, buy stops and sell stops. And to do that, you have to change some defaults, and they are under the trade menu, chart dome settings. Here we go. Here are the default settings for Sierra chart. And as you can see, if I left click on buy column above the last price, and you'll see how it says list here. Remember that list thing? That means this is a drop-down list. So we got lots of choices here. Well, I don't want it to be a limit order if I click above buy. I want it to be a buy stop order. Oh, and one of my other instances is telling me it's 3 minutes to the half hour. Don't care. I think you guys probably heard that alert. And in fact, I'll turn off sound for those, so you won't get annoyed by alerts from my other instances that are running. Anyway, left click on buy column above last buy stop. If I apply that, now if I click up here, hey, look at that. I can place orders up above price. And if price gets up here, it will enter long and long and long and long and long. Cancel all. But I got to do it for sell as well. So left click on sell column above. Okay, that I actually want to be a limit order, right? If I left click above the sell, of course, I want that to be a limit order. That's normal. But if I left click on sell column below price, I don't want that to be a limit. I want that to be a sell stop. Again, same thing. Now I can click down here and I can have sell orders down there. I can have sell orders up here. I can have buy orders up here. I can have buy orders down here. And I do this sometimes for scalping. In fact, I was doing it this morning. I was looking at just cancel all. I was looking at areas of trading activity of aggression, and I was identifying zones where it's like, okay, if the predominant direction was up at the time, and so but we were pulling back, and I figured, okay, if we can get above, let me turn on my crosshairs. If we can get above, here, we're probably going to push through to here. So I would put a buy order there and a sell order there. And then it would go boom, boom, and go right through, and I'd get a 3, 4, 5, 6 tick scalp, something like that. And I did that a bunch of times this morning. And so that is a way you can do that now, but you got to change these settings. And there are other settings as well here. One that is really cool and very useful. If I put on a bracket, let's do a bracket here and make sure that's working. Yep, there's a bracket. Oops, I keep hitting my hotkeys and they're not in this instance. Oh God, I hate trading. In fact, the candles are killing me. Let me get my footprint up, because these candles are just doing me in. Oh, so much better. Oh, I can't stand candlesticks anymore. They just are so horrible. Okay, this is feeling much better. Being back with an old friend. Okay, so if I wanted to have a bracket on, like let's just say, I don't know, let's say we're going up. I don't know. Oh, and we were. Oops, hello. And I'm set to confirmations again. Dang it. Go away. All right. Well, we are. Yeah, I missed that one. Boy, did I correctly identify that we were going to head up. Now we're probably going to head down, but whatever. Let's say I have a bracket here. Okay. And now notice I'm clicking and dragging, right? I think most people, this is probably what they do. If they want to move their brackets around, they're clicking and dragging, right? And clicking and dragging. Well, what you can do, you don't have to actually do that. If I, whoops, I'm on a 30-minute chart and it just moved to the next period. So there we go. Oh, and it just got out. Okay. Well, I just made a nice profit on that. Let's put another one on. Okay. Let's get these out of the way. And I'm trying to do this with the manual way to show you the good way. So I've got a bracket on, right? I'm long and I can click and drag the stop and target levels, right? But I also can right click in the direction of the trade. So this is the one tricky part about this is you have to consider what direction am I going? And in this case, I'm long, right? So I need to be thinking about the buy column. And if I didn't mean to do that. I just placed another buy order. If I right click in the buy column by default, it's going to do some weird things. Like what the hell just happened? I right clicked in there and suddenly I'm long an extra contract. Like what the hell just happened? Well, that is because the defaults again I don't really understand why anybody would want them this way. So the defaults don't make a lot of sense. So here's what we're going to change. We're going to say, if I right click above buy, right? Right click in the buy column above the current price. They say last, but current price, last price, whatever. What I want that to do is I want that to move my target to price, right? Because I'm clicking above buy, right? So if I'm long, it goes up, that's my target. I'm going to make money. So I'm going to move targets to price. If I right click on buy column below last, I don't want to buy stop order. I want it to move my stops to that price. Now, on the other hand, or the other direction, if I right click on the sell column above, well, that's where my stop is, right? I don't want to place a sell stop. I want to move my stop to that price. And if I right click on the sell column below price, that's going to move my target to price. Now, if I apply, now watch what we get. Let me throw a bracket. Actually, I'll just throw a market order on fine and long. Great. Okay. Now, if I right click down here that I'm long, boom, boom. I'm just moving my brackets and I can just right click and move my brackets. That is by far the better way to move stuff. But as I was mentioning, you got to think about which direction you're going. If you get tripped up and you accidentally click in the sell column, and I've done this, I can't even tell you how many times I've done this. I've had to really train myself to not do this because I will think in terms of what I'm doing and I'm long. So if I need to get flat, right, I'm going to sell. So I'll right click over here in the sell column and, oh crap, what did I just do? Well, it just got me out because right click on sell column below last moved my target to price. So it took me out with a profit in this particular case. I'm just making random trades here. But you can get yourself really screwed up if you don't think about which direction you're going and then right click in the right or in the correct. I mean, use a better word. If you don't right click in the correct column, you can trip yourself up and accidentally take yourself out of trades by mistake when you didn't mean to. So if you're long, you're going to be right clicking to adjust your bracket in the buy column. And if you're short, you're going to be right clicking to adjust your bracket in the sell column. And that's, of course, after you've changed these defaults. And this turns the Sierra Dome not into Jigsaw. I would never say it turns it into Jigsaw because it most definitely does not. But it is the closest approximation I've been able to come up with in Sierra to being able to just click for prices, which, I will be the first to admit that is the one thing about Jigsaw that I am envious of, is that ability to it just knows what you want to move. You just go click and price. You don't have to think buy column, sell column, whatever. I really like that about the Jigsaw Dome. I'm not about to sacrifice the integration of Dome and charts in one place to have Jigsaw for that, especially because Sierra and Jigsaw don't talk to one another, and I don't think ever will. But this is the closest approximation I've been able to come up with in terms of behavior. But you still got to think buy column, sell column. So keep that in mind. All right, Alfredo's got a question. On your trade panel, which shows points, can you change to ticks and dollars? Yeah, absolutely. I showed this last time. If you just go into the chart settings, it's under trading. And you can choose right now some points. I can make it currency and ticks. Apply. Boom. Currency and ticks. There you go. All right, let's see here. Now, trade window. Let's talk about the trade window since I have it here. The trade window is obviously where you can just click buttons for buy and sell, right? And you can set your position size and you can choose your account. I only have one sim account here right now. And you can change your stop type and all kinds of things. And there's a bunch of different tabs in here as well, which do various different things. And there's a lot of options hidden in here. I'm not going to get through all of them, but I'm going to talk about some of the main, most important ones and kind of the division of labor of these 5 tabs. Main, targets, set, C. Don't ask me why it's called C. And A. Also, don't ask me why it's called A. I never really figured it out. Never really tried to figure it out either. But there you go. It's what they're called. So main is it's the main one where it shows all your stuff, and it's kind of wide, takes up a lot of space. Also, I should do one other thing. By default, it opens like this. Right? It's attached to your chart, and it's attached to the left side. If you prefer it on the right, you can pop open your chart settings. And it's under, I don't move this very often. I forget where they hide it. Is it on trading? Actually, I think it is. Yes, it is. Attach trade window to right side. Boom. Make that yes, apply, and it flips over to the right. So if you prefer to have it on the right side, which I generally do prefer to have it on the right side because then it's right next to the dome. And that just logically makes sense to me. My brain doesn't like the trade window being over here and the dome being over here. I like them to be next to each other. I actually wish you could move the dome onto the left side. Many times I have wished I could have my dome columns on the left, especially if I'm trading a session footprint anyway. I'm not dealing with candles or time, so putting it on the left would be really useful, but you can't do that. Anyway, you can move it to the right. And by default, it comes attached like this. Now, if you don't want it attached, and by the way, of course, attached means you're wasting this big chunk of screen real estate here, which, depending on what you're doing, that might be really valuable real estate to you. So if you want to get that back, you can click the trade column or trade menu rather, and you can just unattach it, just uncheck attach trade window to chart, and now it'll be floating. And it always floats on top, so you don't have to worry about it popping behind anything. It will always be on top. Unless it's a whole different window, but it will always be on top of your charts. So it will not go behind your chart. But then you can stick it wherever you want it, right? And there's a skinnier version of it. That's the C tab. And this is usually the one that I use. I do usually leave it attached also, just because that way I never lose track of it or accidentally move it or accidentally close it. I've done that before. If I click this, oh crap, I just lost my trade window. And then I got to try to get it back. So you can open trade window for chart. We'll bring it back. So I will attach it. There we go. So this is the C column, and it's narrow, right? And I like the narrowness of it because I only have so much horizontal real estate and I want to be able to fit more stuff on my screen. So this is usually the one that I use. And it has all the same basic functionality as main. Pretty much all of the basic functionality is there. There's a few things missing, like you don't have all these options to change your stop order type and your time in force day to good till cancel and that kind of thing. Although I never touch any of that. You don't have these big just buy, sell buttons. You have your various buy market, ask bid, etc. buttons. But the basic functionality is all there. And so this is usually enough for me. Targets. This is where you handle brackets. And by default, it will, oh, you know what? Can I? No, I guess I can't set it to none. That's right. Once you've chosen something, you can't choose nothing. So I have a bracket chosen right now. If I can, because if I remove everything, will it go away? No, it doesn't go away. It's still set to simple bracket. Anyway, by default, you would have no bracket, right? There'd be nothing in here. What you can do is you can either choose something here like simple bracket, or you can just click add, and that will add a target. And so now by default, I've got a target. So if I click here, there we go. I have no stop. Notice I have no stop down here, but I have a target. But if I want to stop also, let's go ahead and cancel that. If I want to stop also, I can just click add again. And now I've got a target and a stop, and they're both at 10 ticks. So now if I click a bracket down here, there we go. 10 tick stop, 10 tick target. I can change those, of course. Here's my stop. I can make my stop say 30 ticks, and I could make my target say 1 tick. Now I've got a 1 tick driller, right? There we go. So I have a 1-tick drill bracket. And I actually have a bracket for 1-tick drills. So this is exactly this. So you can do that. Now, one thing to be aware of is, let's say I go in here to my position size, right? And let's say I say, well, I want to play with a 2-lot. Okay, great. And I go into targets, and I have my target quantity is set to 2 because it followed the quantity of what I'm using, right? But you can get these out of sync. If I were to manually now change my target quantity, say to 1, notice this turned red. It's warning me, whoa, you have a mismatch. Target stops, no match. That means there's a quantity problem. So you're going to want to check and go, okay, wait a second. I'm trading quantity of 2, and my quantity is set to 1 here for my bracket. Oh, no wonder. Well, that's a problem. Let's change it back to 2. There we go. It turned green. Change it to 3, turns red. So if this is ever red on you, look for your quantities and make sure that they match. Normally, if you just change quantity here, it should follow quantity 4. If I go to a quantity of 6, quantity 6. It should always follow whatever quantity you choose from here, but it is possible to go in here and change them manually. It's also possible the quantity is saved with your bracket. So if I save this bracket right now, if I go to the, you can't do it from this menu here, but if I go to the main menu now and I click the M right here, this is where the chart or the trade window settings menu is. And if I go to save configuration, and I just call this test, test, and I save it, and it is saved with a quantity of 1. So if I go to a quantity of 4, actually, and I go to this bracket here, the bracket also includes the quantity you're trading. I forgot about that. But now you can see I changed my quantity here, and look at this, mismatch. So it's warning me something's wrong. You need to take a look at your quantities, and that's why stuff is not matching. So pay attention to that. If it turns red, you've got a quantity mismatch issue somewhere, and you're going to want to address that. Let's see, Alfredo, could you explain the different setups for stops? Well, I know we do not use stops, but if you want to protect a trade after it's in profit, can it be done? Oh, yeah, absolutely it can. The easiest way, or manual way that I usually use, let me go back to simple bracket again, is let's just I'll just throw on, I don't care, buy market, great. Whatever. Confirmations. Oh, you're killing me. Go away. I'm going to save that configuration. Okay, confirmation settings are saved with your bracket configuration. So that's why that's there. Oh, there we go. Great. I'm going to protect my stop. There we go. Protect my trade. Now, you probably missed what I even did there. I just right-clicked in the buy column because, remember, I set these up. So now I can just right-click. Boom, I'm out. There we go. So that's how easy it is to protect a trade with a stop. And that's the only way I generally use stops. I do have a cat stop normally. I have a cat stop that's 30, 40, 50 ticks off the trade. I move it way, way, way off the trade. But these days, unless it's a profit stop, I never let my stop loss. I never let that get touched. And this is one of the reasons to not use stops at all. And I've kind of, for a while, I've trained myself to trade completely naked. So I wouldn't even have that. And I did that just so that I would force myself to get in the habit of hitting flat, because I just wouldn't. If I had a stop in the trade, I would sit there and say, no, my stop needs to get hit. Either my stop gets hit or my target gets hit. I got to let one or the other, and they're evil because they will make you lose money. So, of course, now I don't have a stop anymore, so I can't right click here to take it, but I got my target. Boy, I'm just printing money today. I should be actually trading. See, this is what happens when you just take random trades. I'm not even thinking about what I'm doing. And I'm just getting all these winners. It's hilarious. Anyway. So that's the main way to use stops in a bracket. Now, at the same time, there are other things you can do with stops. You could not have a stop. Like, I could, again, I'll just buy market. If I didn't have a stop, right, I could, let's get this out of the way. I could do this. I could just say, oh, okay, I'm going to place a sell order there. Oops, here's the problem with doing that. Now I've got this bracket, right? Well, now the bracket filled or is sitting there. Now I've got buy orders on both sides. Oh my God, what have I done? I'm all screwed up. I don't want that. No, now I'm long. I didn't want to be long there. Oh no. So that's what can happen if you aren't aware of what's going on with your brackets. And I'll explain what just happened there, because that might have gone a little too fast. And this is a very easy thing to have happen. Let's say that I think, I don't know. Let's say I think we're going to, if we go lower, let's do this. If we go lower, I'm going to put on a short, right? If we can get through all this aggressive buying here, I think we're going to push down into this delta range. That's my theory. And I think we'll get to here. Great. I'll put the stop. I'll get the stop way out of the way. Great. If we push down, I'm going to be filled short. But here's the thing. Let's see if I can get a fill. It doesn't give it to me. I'm just going to drag it up and get in. There we go. Okay, I'm filled short. But now here's the thing. Let's say I didn't have that target. And now let's say I wanted to place a target down here. And I think, I'm going to probably get out around my target should be there. And so I click buy. But what am I actually doing? I'm placing a new entry, a new trade order with a bracket here. Uh-oh, not what I want. So you have a couple of options here. One is to turn off use attached orders. If I turn off use attached orders, I'm no longer using attached orders. Now I can click buy here and I have a buy target. And I could do the same thing with a stop, right? Because if I didn't have this stop in place and I was using attached orders, I'd have the same problem. I'd think, okay, if I get up to, I'm short. So if I get up to here, I want to buy. Oh, wait a minute. What's with this bracket? I don't want that. Because what will happen is if price moved up here, price moved up here, price moved up here, it would go right through this because this is not in the market yet. It's just a bracket. And then it would get out, right? My trade would get flat, but that would activate both of these brackets. And then I'd have two live sell orders sitting here on either side of what I'm doing. And that is a disaster, total disaster. I'm not going to want that. So I would uncheck this. And now I could say, okay, well, if we get up here, I want to buy it back. There we go. But here's the, it's not a problem, but here's the unfortunate reality of doing this is an unattached order. It's just a random order floating around in the market, right? Which means I can't right click to move it. It won't do anything. I can't move. I don't have it in this menu. I forget this version of Sierra as it defaults. I can't right click to move my stop to price because this is not considered a stop. It's just an order. It's just an order in the market. So it's completely unattached from this. It has no awareness of or relation to this. It will not do an OCO between these two. If this one hits, this one will not get taken out, or vice versa. If my target gets hit, my stop will not get taken out, will not get removed because they're totally unattached orders. So it's really important to understand the difference between attached orders and unattached orders. Now, there is another solution, a better solution, quite frankly, to this, which is this. If in the chart settings, if we go to, and this is in my notes, but I'm doing things a little bit out of order right now just because the topic came up. If I go to orders and I turn on support scale in and support scale out, and this will save with the bracket again. So notice this is something that's important to be aware of if you use this. So you've turned these two things on, right? Okay, great. Now let's say I change my bracket. And now, okay, later I go back to simple bracket and I think that my settings are the way I want them. Wrong. They're no longer checked because the state of all of these items here is saved with the bracket. So I'll have to go in here again, turn on scale in and scale out. And if I wanted that to be saved, I need to go save configuration, save. And now if I go to a different bracket and come back to this bracket, orders, you notice they're checked. Well, what that does is that allows me to do, now, of course, I removed my, let me start over because I actually want the bracket there. So I'm going to put the bracket on. I'm going to say, I don't know, what are we doing? We're in the middle of the deltas. I'm going to say we're going long. Why not? Sure. So I bought market. Great. I'm going to move this up there, move this down here. Now what I can do, I am long, which means I can place a sell order. And notice here, see, I have use attached orders checked. But unlike before, now if I click a sell order, let's say I'm thinking, it's kind of a crappy place to have entered long, but whatever. Let's say I think we're going to get up to here and I place a sell order there. Notice that sell order did not come in with a bracket and I can move it around and it's behaving. It's just an individual independent order, but it's not actually independent. It's part of this entire trade. So the rest of the trade is aware of this order, and it will scale me in, or in this case, it would scale me out because I'm long. So if it hits a sell order here, it'll take me out and get me flat. I can do the same thing down here. I can place a buy order and say, you know what, if we get below the delta here, I want to get out. So actually, sorry, I don't want to buy order. What am I saying? Sell order. I'm thinking short. So now let's see if we get it. We might. Buyers are sitting there on that negative delta. Yeah, whatever. You get the idea. So I like scale in and out very much. There we go. Got it. And now my one straight order that's up here is still in there. And that is because I do not have this option checked. Oops, orders. Cancel orders on flat position. This is a really useful thing to know about. If I select it, it pops up a warning. Kind of weird that Sierra warns you about this, but are you sure you want to enable? Only enable if you fully understand what it does. Like it's some big, dangerous, scary thing. All it does is when I'm flat, when I get flat, I won't do it now because I don't have a position on, but when I have a position on and that position gets flat, all orders on the DOM will be canceled, which is probably a good thing most of the time. Occasionally, it's not a good thing, though. When it's not a good thing is, for example, let's imagine, if you will, that I think we're going to go lower. Let's, actually, we do have UB down here. Let's imagine this was the session and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to push this because ledges always break, especially with UB, and maybe we're correlated down or, whatever. And I think, okay, if we get to here, I want to get in. So I'm going to get out a tick ahead of the resolution and stop up there. There we go. Great. And so if we push down, I'm thinking we're going to blast through this and I'm going to get a few ticks. Okay, fantastic. But now let's say that along the way, I see another opportunity. I say, well, you know what, though? We have pushed to here. Well, now it just got me in. Now it's going to give me the trade. Oh, boy. It's hard to lose on purpose when you want to. Oh my God. Let's see. I don't know. Let's get long. Let's see. Okay, if it'll let me. Okay, great. I'm long. Fabulous. Let's just get these out of the way. Now, I have got something else going on. Let's say that, I'm thinking we're going to get to the other end of the range. And so I had placed this. Whoops, except I had to do that while I wasn't in a position. All right, let's start over. Let's do it the other way around. Let's say, okay, I have this trade on and I'm thinking we're going to get to the other end of the range, right? For whatever reason. But then while that's happening, I see an opportunity down here and I say, oh, you know what, though? There's another trade down here. I'm going to take that. I want to get long. Come on. Oh, I'm chasing. Okay. I got long. Let's see if I can get a tick out of it. Boom. I got my tick, right? Okay. But here's what happened. Notice up here. Oops. Those are gone. They're gone because of that option right there. Cancel on flat. Because I got flat, it took out all my other orders. It cleared out the DOM. Now, I may not have wanted that because I'm sitting here thinking, no, but later we're going to get up here. I want those orders sitting there. So it's worth understanding when you want this enabled, when you don't. Most of the time, it's probably safest to have it enabled because otherwise you can end up with stray orders floating around that you forget are there and you walk away and go to have lunch or whatever. And you come back and realize, oh, crap, you got taken into something that you changed your opinion and you no longer want to be in. So it's worth understanding that. All right, real quick. Let me go back to the chat here. I saw something flick on. Let's see. Bauer, how do you put current candle closer to the DOM? Oh, that's the fill space. So there's not a single answer to that question, but I'll walk through a couple of the different possible scenarios that are going on. So one thing is if I hold down, I'm using the up and down arrow keys on my keyboard, by the way, to zoom in and out, which is exactly the same as doing this. Right, clicking and dragging on the time scale, but usually, unless I need to do a really large amount all at once, I don't like clicking and dragging on I don't like anything mouse based if I can help it. I much prefer doing stuff keyboard, shortcuts and things. So down arrow zooms me out, right? And so it's possible if I zoom out to, whoops, that's a little too far. There we go, to there. Like I've got this space here, right? So the first way to address that is if it's just a little bit of space, you can just hit the up arrow a few times and kind of zoom in a little bit until it's a little bit more snugged up to the right. My guess is that's not what's happening with you. With you, you're probably looking at, oops, let's go. Oh, that's right. I have everything's at defaults. I'm so not used to defaults. Where are you? Hold on. Come on. There it is. you're probably looking at something like this. Let's make this bigger. You probably have some huge honking space there, right? So this is called the fill space. And there's all kinds of things you can do with the fill space. Potentially, you can put text labels and studies and stuff in the fill space. Most people probably don't do much of that, though. So it's just dead space. So to fix that, you want to change the fill space. Now, if I hit the left and right arrow keys on my keyboard, I can scroll back to the left, I can scroll back to the right, but I can't do anything about this space by itself. That doesn't do anything. But what you want to do is go into the chart menu. There's an option here, lock fill space. If you uncheck that, now the left and right arrow keys changes the fill space. And there's also a modifier, just like how, remember this, I can click and hold to move and hold down the control key to adjust the range, and then move and range and move and range and move and range. And you can just keep toggling the control key and do that. Well, you have the same thing with the fill space. If I, with fill space, if I lock the fill space, right? Okay, so I'm going to lock the fill space. With the fill space locked, if I use the left and right arrow keys, it's just going to move the candles or the bars or whatever. If I hold down the control key, it moves it allows me to move the fill space or adjust the fill space. And so now it's a toggle. And so you can just adjust it as you see fit on the fly by just toggling control key. Like right now, the control key is held down. Now the control key is not held down. Now the control key is held down again. Now the control key is not held down. And I can't go any further to the right. So that's the issue you're dealing with, is lock fill space. So take a look at that and then try the left and right arrow keys, and that should get you sorted, hopefully. All right, cool. So back on track here to talk trade window. I've kind of jumped out of order of my notes here, so let me try to make some sense of where I was at. All right, so we kind of talked a little bit about bracket targets. I was gonna get into some like automated move to break even triggers and stuff like that, but honestly, that's kind of a deep rabbit hole of its own, and we're already at an hour. So I think I'm going to save that for another session where I can really dive into that, because I know people always want to do fancy automated stuff of like, once we're 3 ticks in profit, moves to stop plus break even on one contract and then take that off and then, whatever. And honestly, that stuff is probably a really bad idea. And I say that as someone who was super duper drawn to this. And I have done a lot of work with automation. And this is just one form of automation. Obviously you can do spreadsheet systems and all kinds of automation, but this is one way to automate things. And I've done lots of things with multi-contract, automatic move to break evens and profit takes and, trails and all this kind of stuff. And it seems on paper like a really good idea. In practice, it screws you up Let me rephrase that. I know at least one person, I guarantee you there are lots more, but I know at least one person who's a full-time professional trader who uses them religiously. But he is an extremely, accomplished trader of 15 years or whatever. And, he absolutely knows his system and knows exactly what he's doing and knows his entries and knows exactly when and where to enter. And so, it makes sense once you're at that point. If you're not yet at that point, I would say probably don't mess around with them, because they are, again, they look so great on paper and they just end up really screwing you up. That being said, though, it's not a bad thing to understand how the feature works. You don't have to use it. It's worthwhile knowing. So I will definitely do a session where we dive into all the different automated stuff and triggers and things that can be done with this, because it is useful. It is really cool to know that it's there. But it's super easy to think it's the holy grail and now I can't lose. I'm always going to, and it just, it's a recipe for disaster if you start thinking that way. But it's cool to know what can be done. So, all right, we are at an hour. Where am I at in my notes? Am I at a sensible spot? I should finish up this one section. I kind of figured we weren't going to get through all of the dome today, and we definitely did not. But I'll finish up the trade window, and then we'll get back to our lives. All right. So what else is in the trade window? So the set, I keep wanting to call this a menu, but it's not. The tab, I guess, has a bunch of stuff in here that you probably won't ever need to really mess with. This more comes into place when you're using some of those automated trigger type stuff I was talking about. So in fact, you know what, I'll save this for that. When I do that session, that'll make more sense to talk about this stuff. So we'll just move on from that. C, like I said, is the narrow one. Why it's called C, I have no idea. Also notice something. I clicked the C and now it's gone. It's no longer visible, right? But there's these two little arrow keys here, or arrow buttons, and those let you scroll left and right. And so that's where it's hidden itself. It's just a silly UI quirk of Sierra. It's too narrow to show everything, so it hides. Now, why they don't just shrink this down to like an M and that to a T, who knows? It's Sierra chart. Oh, C for compact. Oh, of course. Wow, how logical. That like makes sense. C for okay, what's the A? Explain the A to me, please, Robert. Because I have never been able to figure out what the heck that is supposed to be. I'm sure it's something, but I have no idea what. So anyway, okay, I'm not going to repeat that on the video. Anyway, God, where was I now? You made me lose my train of thought. Oh, compact. Yes, that's right. So yeah, compact is the skinny one. It's the one that I like the most. And it has, the menu here. It's the same as the M button on the other ones. The biggest thing about all of these different settings in here, just keep this in mind, because this has screwed me up so many times in the past before I realized this. All of these different settings you set are tied to the bracket you are currently in. So if you're on some just nothing testing bracket, I'm on test, right? Just a throwaway bracket that I just use to screw around with, and I'm not thinking about it. And then I realize, oh, there's a trade opportunity. Okay, I'm going to take this trade. Oh, but you know what? I better let me turn on or off something, and I change a setting here or whatever. It is tied to this bracket. If I don't hit save, next time I come back, it's going to be gone and my settings are going to be back to what they were. And there was a long period of time where my bracket settings, my dome settings rather, kept not saving. And it was driving me freaking nuts because every bloody time my scale in and scale out were inevitably set wrong. And I would get messed up orders where I didn't want them, and I'm getting brackets where I don't want them, and stray stuff left going floating around. And I'm like, what the hell? I changed that setting. I know I changed that setting. Why does it never remember the settings? It's because all of these different settings are saved with the bracket configuration you save. So keep that in mind. Beware if you have a lot of different brackets for different functions and whatever, they may not all have the same settings here. So beware of that. I think trade simulation mode is not actually one of those. That wouldn't make any sense for it to save, but definitely all these confirmation things, all the order settings, all the settings are definitely saved per bracket. So important to recognize that. And then if you're ever tripped up because something doesn't seem to have saved itself, change it, make sure it's set correctly, and then go into save configuration and either save it over itself or give it a new name, save a new name, whatever. Okay. I talked briefly about use attached orders. Very important to know that that's there. And when it's, what happens if you don't have it checked, then I'm just going to get a stray order by itself up here, right? But if I do have it checked, then I'm going to get my bracket, whatever my bracket settings are. So, but beware of how that behaves, whether you have scale in and out enabled or not, because that can really trip you up. Position quantity buttons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? This is just how many contracts, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but you can change these. These buttons are not fixed. You can change them in, oh, that's right. Yeah. Duh. Thank you. That's right. It's actually in here. There we go. Quantity buttons. That's it. Oh, I love how consistent Sierra is with always putting all of their settings in the same logical places. So anyway, yeah, you can change these to be whatever you want. If you trade, I don't want to do just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I want to have a 1 lot, a 2 lot, 5 lot, 10 lot, 20 lot, and a 50 lot. I'm a big trader. There you go. 1, 2, 5, 10, 20, 50. So let's trade a 50 lot. What do you think? 50 lot, 1 tick drill. Can I get it? Oh, it's going to go offsides and cost me a small fortune. Nope, I got it. Ooh, 1 tick drill with a 50 lot. Quick $1,000 or $600 or whatever that was. Anyway, Oh, and the last thing I was going to cover for this is the break even button, which is right there. This little BE, or it's more clear on here. This one on the compact menu, it's BE, and that will just move you to break even. If I let's go to a simple bracket here and throw one on, we'll go by market and move these out of the way. Come on, and I click. Come on, go take in my favor, or don't. All right, whatever. If I do it now, it'll take me out. Right. This is another interesting thing. This does not work in Rhythmic. This tripped me up the first time I tried it in Rhythmic. In Sierra Sim, this goes for both their internal local sim that I'm using here and also their trading evaluator service. If you are in a position and you are offsides, if you move to break even, it will just take you flat immediately, right? Because moving to break even while you're underwater is taking you out of the trade, right? That's essentially what it does. Rhythmic will not do that because Rhythmic will complain that, oh, well, we can't move break even. It's above, in the case of a long, it's above where price is currently, and that won't work. So Rhythmic will just refuse the order and not do it. So that's worth knowing, is you can't use move to break even as flatten if you're in a Rhythmic eval or funded or whatever, if you're on Rhythmic and possibly other live brokers as well. They won't do it, but Sim will. Anyway, that's all it does. It just takes you to moves your stop to break even. Now, if you want it to be break even +1, that's where in the set menu, you can go move to break even offset in ticks. I can set that to 1, and then clicking on, clicking on break even would actually move me to break even plus a tick. So if you are just the type who wants a button to do break even +1, you just want to click that, and there you go. That's how you can do that. So, all right, that is a good place to stop for today. I think I got lots more Dome stuff to get through, and I'm sure again, so far every session somebody has pinged me before the next one and said, "Hey, can you talk about such and such?" So, which is great. I love it. It just keeps this going. I'm happy to keep this series running indefinitely until we run out of quirky Sierra chart tips and tricks to talk about, which will probably take a really long time knowing Sierra chart. So with that, let's let you all get back to your lives. If there are any questions or anything anybody wants to bring up anywhere at the moment, we can talk about them real quick. Otherwise, we'll let you go. So we'll just call this Burning Desires going once, twice, and 3 times. You're very welcome. Good to see you all here. Thanks so much for joining me and hanging out, and we'll talk again soon. I'll see you in the pit. Have a great rest of your day.